And I think we are live. Let me check if I have enough hard drive space to do the recording for this one. Barely. I need to clean up some hard drive space soon. I've been recording these streams for this 2D project and it's eaten into my hard drive space. Well, not even hard drives, technically they're all SSDs. Which is probably the issue, because if they were hard drives they would be a lot larger and this wouldn't be an issue. So I probably should just like get an archival hard drive. I do have like two, but they're like very old. Anyway, YouTube's finally caught up with starting to stream. So we've got 7 assets since last time that were closed. That's the player sprite. Let's see, player sprite sheet. I don't care about test player. I guess we're just going to change that to player instead of test player. And this is the movement inputs. Okay, so I literally don't care about any of that. This is the player animation blueprint. I might want to keep it open. I don't think we really need that at the moment. So let's just close it. Why not? And this is the other side of that whole thing. So it turns out we didn't need any of those assets. Fantastic. So today I want to take a look into maybe starting up the card resources or the card data assets or whatever. And I want to take a look at the tile map, because it's mostly the tile maps in Unreal Engine 2D that I've heard result in a lot of problems. Everything we've done so far has actually been quite smooth. I haven't really run into any major issues, other than the fact that there's no built-in sprite flipping, which I still think is kind of bullshit, but it's easily fixed by just setting the, I think it was Y scale or X scale to -1 and back to 1. So that's really not that big a deal. The only issue with that is if there's any other code that for some reason needs to influence the scale as well, that does then become a little bit annoying, because you need to like store that into a separate variable and then take from that and multiply a negative. It gets a little messy if you want to do any other stuff with scaling your sprite. Or you could just like put it into another scene component, I suppose, and scale that one up instead. That probably would be an easier way to do it. You know what would it be even easier? If the engine just had a flip sprite function on the sprite components, as you would expect it to have. Anyway, so all that's actually gone quite decently well. We have this, right? So we can just straight up walk around now, and holy shit, what's up with my frame rate? This feels a lot more. Oh no, it is not my frame rate actually. It's just the speed. I changed the speed at the end. That said, my frame rate still does feel kind of shitty. So let's like stats FPS. Is my frame rate shit? Yeah, no, my frame rate still is pretty shit. Like it's 30 frames per second, even lower. I guess having had my PC run all night without restarting probably is part of the issue there. Also, I still have Photoshop up, but maybe like close that because we were just making this thumbnail. But aside from that, nothing else is really open on my PC, so I don't know. It's also very interesting to me that if I like zoom in right here, right, we can see that we're about 77 frames per second. The moment I start playing is when we tank to, no, now it's actually about 50 frames per second. I don't know. Surely Photoshop didn't make that much of a difference, right? Maybe it did, I don't know. Let's take a look at the... I didn't prepare like any of this, so let me open up the proper folder where I have all these resources, which is fucking somewhere. I think I can open this in Explorer, and that will open a window here for me, because I have a resources folder, and in that somewhere I have my tile map. So let's see, we have sprites, then we have tile maps. I already imported that. That is fantastic. So how do we make this into a tile map is the question that we should be looking into. Now, can I just sprite actions? create tile set. It's literally just that easy. Okay, sure. If we look into this now, let me take a look. Tile size is 32 by 32. That should be 16 by 16, I think. And that is literally all there is to it. So we now have this tile set. We're going to be expanding this tile set with different tiles eventually, obviously. And I might have changed the spacing for them a little bit, but we'll probably be fine, I imagine. Maybe. We'll see. Okay, so we have a tile set. So I understand that tile sets sometimes can cause, like when you close them, can cause the entire engine to crash, which is part of the issue with tile sets. I don't know if it's the tile sets or like the tile, the tile canvas assets that do that, but I guess we're about to find out. That didn't seem to crash anything, so that is good. And then in paper 2D, we can, I think it's called a tile map, right? So this would be our shop tile map. And we can say, trying to figure this out, no tile selected, that's good. So we have our base layer here. And from there, active tile sets, we can choose this tile set. Okay, that's cool. And say I want to have this tile. What do I say? What size I want to paint? Why doesn't it just take the size of the tiles that I have selected as my brush? Oh, it's because it sets up the tile sizes as well. Okay, now that actually makes sense. So how big do we want this to be? Let's say like 50 by 50 or something. Does that seem reasonable? That might seem even a little bit big if I'm being honest with you. But can I... Okay, I can just draw like this. That's fine. Do I have any way to like... I can copy things. That's quite nice. But what I really want is just to be able to like drag a shape. There's a fill button at the top left. Fill. That also works. That also works. Still would very much like, because now we can fill in these corners, right? But I still would very much like if I could say, hey, we have this tile over here, and I want to just like everything up to here, I want to fill as well. Because it seems like that might be like not a thing. It probably is a thing, right? Then again, this might be where we come into, yeah, Unreal, the tile system is just not that good. Also, no, okay, I was going to say, also, does it not override more than one tile at a time? But it does, so at least there's that. And to be fair, I imagine that this doesn't, like, if you're going to make a bigger game than just what I'm doing right now, where I'm only like, I'm going to only make this one map, right? So it'll be fine. I imagine if you're doing more than this, you'll want to extend this yourself, which I don't know how difficult that is to do. But those kind of tools you probably would want to implement yourself. Because just being able to like box drag to fill in a surface of tiles would probably be quite nice. Then again, maybe there's a section in here that just like lets you... We have map width and height. We have the tile width and height. Pixels per unit. I think we set that to like 0.2 before, right? Which, my goodness, that makes this even larger. Separation per layer. projection mode, orthogonal, material. Oh, you can actually make your own. Let's actually see if there's anything particularly special about this material. Because I'm quite curious about that. It is literally just the source texture and then RGB getting multiplied by the RGB of the vector vertex color, and then the alpha and the alpha are multiplied for the mask. Okay, so nothing special. I don't want to apply any changes. I didn't make any particularly important change, but I still don't want to. Oh, multi-tile grid width. Let's see. If I set this to like 5 by 5, and I say, hey, I want to paint this in, it still doesn't do that. I thought I had it there for a moment. Maybe I do. Display layer grid. No, that's not it either, I don't think. Tile grid. I mean, that's kind of nice to be able to see. Yeah, I don't think that they have a box selection, sadly. Well, yeah, that's kind of limited, but we're fine. We're fine for now. Let's save this. Okay, so I've again heard that if you close this, it has it is a beta preview, right? So this has a chance of crashing the engine altogether. So let's actually just save everything. Does it do that? It does not do that. So that is good. And now, how do I put that into... Oh, there's a lot of stuff here. How do I put that into the level in a way that makes sense? I guess the way they want you to do that is... by just like dragging it in like this? Maybe? Yeah, I personally want to... that looks real bad. I personally, the way I want to do this is in the XY directions. And it's kind of annoying that it's not outlined to like this point where this is 0, 0 locally. I don't think it matters because I'm not going to like play with this in code at all, but it's still kind of annoying. So let's set this back to 0, 0, 0. We can actually get rid of this floor because we're not going to be using it at all. And then I think what I want to do is I want to set my snapping to... That's an issue. I thought you were able to set your snapping to a custom size. I can only set them to 1, 5, 10, 50, 100, but that's not going to line up with these tiles. So that is actually a pretty major issue. But I'm not sure how we're going to... How big is one of these tiles in world space now? First and foremost, I definitely want this to be slightly above. Is it like about 100 units now? That would be kind of nice if it was. Oh, I'm not even snapping. Okay, we are roughly in the middle of that tile, and then when I move over, yeah, okay. So that's a little bit annoying. I think I know what the issue is with it crashing, because now that it exists in a level, if I added it now and close out of it, which I'm going to have to do because there's an issue here, but if I like edit this map now, and I find that little sprite issue wherever it might be, it's also mirrored. But that's probably just because I rotated it weirdly, which makes sense actually. No, that makes sense. It's still outlined from top left to bottom right, but at least it's not top right outline, because that's actually like stupidly weird. Okay, so if I now This might cause issues, right? No, it doesn't. Okay, so maybe the crashing issue has just altogether been fixed, which would be really quite nice. So we need to... No, that's still 90. This just needs to also be rotated 180 degrees that direction then, right? So now they match up. So that's good. So let's take this for a spin. We need to upgrade these textures without a doubt, by the way, because like look at look at how bad this is for like your eyes. So it has some kind of like weird moire effect. I mostly made this texture for testing purposes so that I could see whether or not I'm moving. Fix is going to get you when you least expect it. Well, I was expecting to run into a crashing issue because that's what I've heard a lot of people complaining about with like posts that are only like a couple of months old, like 3, 4, 5 month old posts. So sharing my internet connection is killing my streams. My internet has been bad for like the last 2 weeks. I'm technically connected now, but I'm dropping like 90% of my frames. I'm just going to be sat here until the internet fixes itself, I suppose. Yeah? Are we stable again? We're definitely not at 6,000 kilobit. And yeah? No, we are? We are. Okay, I'm back. I hate my internet connection, man. Anyway, as I was saying, we have this like pretty much like this tone value here, which is kind of cool. We can use that easily. If we hooked it up to like a game mode value or whatever instead, we can have like a day-night cycle or something cool. We'll look into it. Did YouTube not come back again because there's 0 people watching on YouTube now? Let's see. Warning. Current stream bitrate is only 1500 kilobits. Yeah, I no, it's not actually. Right? Yeah, no, it should be good. Yeah, there's nothing much I can do about my internet being shit. That's just kind of something we're going to have to deal with. Hopefully it doesn't drop out again. So yeah, we've got this time-up stuff working. That's ground. The thing that's less ground is that I want to be able to... Can I place actors into this tile map? That is my real question. That would be great, but I'm guessing that's gonna be a problem. Collision thickness we have. That's nice. It's not really what I care about. Yeah, so how am I going to go about putting in actors in my levels that are aligned to this grid? 2D. Yeah, there's Unreal 2D. Well, it's still Unreal, but I'm doing 2D stuff. Because I just kind of want to play around with it and see what its downsides are, which we're running into a few of them already. So the reason I'm asking that, right, is because we'll get the sprites, object sprites. We have this chest, which is not... No, it is point filters. And I want to make this chest part of the level. So what I will do is I will just make a... Actually, we'll make a C++ class for it. Because we're going to need that eventually anyway. So maybe, can we like duplicate this or something? Hold on. 2D character. Does 2D character have anything that would prevent it from an animation component. I guess it doesn't need an animation component and doesn't need pawn movement. Yeah, no, let's make this something separate. Then again, we could make something... hold on. Do we want to make a separate parent class even that is just like 2D object? Or 2D actor? That's just an actor with these two things on it, and then... Oh no, because this needs to inherit from pawn. No, okay, never mind. So we'll make a new C++ class inheriting from actor, and we'll call this actor 2D. And that's just kind of going to copy over. Again, CPP files go on the right side. I still haven't figured out if there's an automated way to do that. I don't think that there is at this point. Input action value I don't care about. We have... Okay, so we have this, which is... Oh, that's a player. I want to have the 2D character. We just have the collision box and the sprites here. Also, pawn movement I actually want to give a U property added defaults only to it, because we can't edit the settings for the pawn movement now, which is really annoying. So, okay, so we copy that over, we put that into the protection section here, and then we go into character whatever, and we set root components, sprites. Okay, so we copy pretty much all this over into there as well. And that should allow me to... Hold on, let's make sure that everything is saved. Oh, Unreal just closed. No, it didn't. So let's save everything to make sure that we don't lose any progress and rebuild. Nice. Yeah, it's fun playing around with it. Where are we getting an issue here? The command exited with code 6. This is a makefile thing, so that seemingly shouldn't have anything to do with my code. But we might have some issues with include files. We need to include... the paper ZD, actually no. We don't include those other things there at all. I don't know why we don't. But let's include U paper. Did I misspell include? No, I didn't. Paper flip. Oh, that actually doesn't need to be a flipbook component for this, does it? It's probably good to make the flipbook component, just if we need it to be animated. We can just make it a sprite. Should we just make it a static sprite? Let's just stick with paper flipbook, because now we can inherit from this, and everything can inherit from this one actor instead of having two different branches, one for static and one for dynamic, and that's going to be a mess. I don't think it's going to end up mattering within the scope of this project, to be very fair. So, oh, I understand why it's fucking up. We need that. U paper flip book components. Doesn't like that. Why doesn't it like that? Oh, it's without the U. I always mess that up. It still doesn't like it, but you're entirely right. So, okay, we don't need test actor and test character anymore. A matter of fact, I'm going to delete those classes one of these days. Do I for some reason include them in here? I do include them. Why do I include that one in there? Oh, I'm calling it paper ZD. Oh, hold on. No, that is... .h. It's been a long day, okay? It's been a long day. And the .h, yeah, there we go. And then include box component shouldn't be this difficult, right? We have include fucking box. Box component is actually inside of a folder somewhere, isn't it? Yeah, components, box components. Okay, that fixes that. I'm still a little confused as to why the fuck I decided to put this into the header file here. Okay, again, writer coming through clutch. It even says, hey, you don't need to forward declare this. We already have a definition for this or an include for this within this file. But I am forward declaring it, so I might as well character A2D. We probably just include it in the CPP file because there's no reason to be including that in the header file. So let's try to build again. Don't you dare get me like a makefile error. You're getting me a makefile error again. Why? Why is that? Unable to build while live coding is active. Okay, so the F5 thing doesn't work anymore because live coding is active. So it's probably because I didn't build from Rider in the first place. I just opened Unreal and then opened Rider from Unreal instead of opening Unreal from Rider, I'm guessing. So now that Unreal is properly closed, we can build from Rider and then we should be able to rebuild easily, right? No, we cannot. Okay. So this is actually interesting because when I changed this from being included in the header file to the CPP file, now the child class doesn't include that in the CPP file. I mean, I guess that makes sense. Didn't think about that, but I guess that makes sense. It still has that makefile issue, which is really weird. Yeah, so that's just a linking error then. Okay, that's cool. That's fine. Yeah, it now needs to include there because the header doesn't have it anymore. And I guess every CPP file needs it. Okay, now that we have that, so the thing that I was going to do with all this is make a blueprint class actor2D. We'll call this BP chest or something like that. The sprite will be, did I call it chest? Of course I didn't. Oh, because I need to extract a sprite from that texture. That's right, that's right. So we have object sprites, and then I need to sprite action create a sprite from it. And now I can get the chest sprites, or not, because it's not a flipbook. Yeah, so let's change that after all. Yeah, Actor 2D is just gonna have a sprite and not a flipbook. Because now in order to literally display anything on any actor, it needs to be a flipbook animation, which seems fucking bonkers to do, right? So I guess this is like U sprites, U paper sprites, which means that we need to change this include to paper sprite. sprite.h, and this needs to be paper sprite as well. Please tell me that paper sprite hasn't attached two components, and this is just taking a moment to update. Please tell me that paper sprite, like this is, it has to, right? Because this has to be a scene component. There's no way that it's not. Let's see. U paper sprites, public U object. It's paper sprite components. There we go. Okay. That makes a lot of sense. So U paper sprite components. Because the paper sprite is just asset. It's the asset type. So that is fair enough. I will say having to relaunch the project every time with like the F5 thing is slower than just live coding, but with making big changes like this, it's probably good to do. And it's still much faster than having to manually close Unreal and then build and then all that good stuff. So anyway, going back to our chest, right? BP chest. Now this is just a sprite. Which needs to be... But it is already your property, isn't it? That's weird. I mean, it's not difficult to work around, don't get me wrong. We can just say, hey, set this to chest on construct, and that's... oh, it's not blueprint read write, so we would need to... Yeah, okay, so that's an issue in and of itself, because this should definitely be editable. Let's set it to edit anywhere, just to test this out, because that's weird. Is it because it's protected? No, that shouldn't be the reason, right? Quick question. That for anybody who is like used to using Rider, this whole rebuild and reopen with a shortcut, does that automatically save? Let's remember my choice here. Does that automatically also save any assets that are currently open and unsaved? Because I really feel kind of paranoid that when I do that, it doesn't save my progress. Yeah, so I can't actually overwrite the sprites. If I add a paper sprite like this, it does have a bunch of information, which... The actual fuck? Huh? Okay, that's a little weird. That is a little weird. Anybody have a clue as to why that might be? Because this should just work. I'm gonna try to see if putting this in public changes anything, but I kinda doubt it. There's no reason that this should. Yeah, maybe put it out of protected. But that's the thing, right? Because the collision box is inside protected, and that has no such problems. And when I go into like my character, that's on this side, my bad. We have like the floating pawn movement, and that's also in protected. We have the animation component, that's also in protected. Like all of this, even the other thing that was a sprite, but just using flipbooks, wasn't protected and that didn't have that issue. You see, this just doesn't. It just doesn't. So I don't know what the fuck is up with that. Let's just see if anybody else has run into this issue. We'll just change it back to a paper flipbook if this is actually an issue, but I don't think that this is a good sign of things to come. Unreal, paper, paper sprites, component, details, C++. Let's see. Pretty quick question. I'm making a game using Paper 2D. I made a C++ pawn and add a sprite flipbook to it, or C++ or add C++ component to a sprite flipbook. So that question doesn't even make sense. I don't think. Why exactly is Paper 2D not recommended? Well, we're finding out live. Yeah, I don't think... Yeah, okay. No idea. The way we're going to fix this is just to say, hey, remember when we had the flipbook component here instead? Yeah, that's what we're going to be doing going forward. Congratulations, you have been upgraded to a flipbook. Everything that we need to display is going to have to be a flipbook now. Which I cannot imagine is very well optimized. Then again, it's all 2D shit, so it probably doesn't actually matter that much. At least from a GPU perspective. I'm sure that the CPU is getting hit a little harder, but... It's not really what I care about at the moment. Just checking if there's anything I'm missing here. I don't think there is. So yeah, everything is the exact same. I just changed back to a paper flipbook component now. Let's try to rebuild and see. What? There's a fucking makefile thing again. What is going wrong? U primitive component cannot convert arguments from one U. Okay, so we probably have the paper flipbook component issue somewhere. Did it change anything in here? 2D character. Oh, yeah, I accidentally probably Ctrl-Z this out of existence as well. Get rid of the U and add a .h. This time I know by heart. I know by heart this time, I promise. So yeah, that's not ideal. This shows you how actually shit the support is for 2D in Unreal, because any development team that actually tried using the stuff that they made for more than 2 seconds would have run into this, right? This is not a very niche... Oh, but you want something very specific, so of course they didn't catch this as a bug. There might still be something that I am missing, but I feel like there's just a bug with that component. If I'm being 100% honest with you. So I can feel a little bit more about what's going on with, maybe like this is not particularly finished, but you see, here, same code. Well, different code because it's a different component, but in the exact same place, we just changed what type of component it is, and everything works now. So it's definitely something with that specific components. And if I add it through a blueprint, there's no issue there. So there's definitely something up there. Anyway, source flipbook. I guess we're making a flipbook out of this. just flipbook, sure. At least now we have. Oh yeah, also definitely want to copy over that other line of code here that we had. Which was it? In character 2D, where we set the rotation for the sprites automatically. Do we do after attached to component? I don't think it matters. But sure. And all this whole side tangent about sprites and flipbooks, the entire point of this is because I wanted to show you that we're going to run into an issue with aligning things to the grid of the tile map. Because the character isn't upside down, is it? We'll figure that out later. And then the sprite itself will move up a little. So that we can kind of walk behind the chest a little bit. Okay, cool, we got that. So we can now pull in a chest here, and that is... Oh, I was going to say, that's way too fucking huge, but that's because it... Oh, that makes sense. This whole thing doesn't have collision, does it? Well, that's another problem, isn't it? I guess its Z location can just be like 1? Like 5, actually. And then we can just like kind of move it around like this. Okay, cool. So we walk around, we can find the chest, and okay, we simply just... That makes sense. We probably want to... At least it's not upside down, necessarily. How's 2D going? Limited in its usefulness, but not horrible. We probably want to set the box collision by default to something like collision. Can we set? Oh, can we set like its collision profile? Set collision profile name. Do we just pull in a F block black block all? Just block all? What is it called? In collision. Now it's overlap all dynamic. Definitely don't want that. Yeah, just block all, I think, is what we want. So if we save everything real quick. So just block all. And then rebuild. I'll probably want to do that for the character as well, because the character doesn't have collision yet, I don't think. It does have a collision box, but it's set to overlap all dynamic, I'm pretty sure. First, let's see if this line actually works the way I think it does. Once we can be relatively sure of that, we'll add it to the player as well. This is the chest, so we have chest, collision. This is for the entire actor, we need to check it for the collision box. Collision block all. Okay, so we definitely want to have that line of code also existing in our 2D character. It's going to prompt us to rebuild again. And from there, okay, so the thing that we're going to have problems with. Are you going to fix the pixel distortion effect? Which effect do you mean? If you just mean the fact that this background looks like shit when I walk over it, the way that we're going to fix that is by having less shitty sprites for this. And this is just because the collision for my player is all kinds of not what it should be. If there's anything else that you mean, do tell me. Okay, so we move this sprite down ever so slightly now. Probably could do with even a little bit bigger of a collision box. We need to get into the habit of doing this from the top perspective, because this is orthographic. This is actually like what matters. I mean, when pixels become different sizes at different screen positions. I'm still not entirely sure what you mean. Pixels become different sizes? Like if we just look at this. I guess what you mean is if we do this, we have like depth. And since we're making something 2D, we don't want depth. My solution to that is just having a top-down camera. But something that you can do is changing the camera from perspective to orthographic. That eliminates all sense of depth. So everything would just get rendered at like the same relative size. So that's a thing that you can do. Okay, so this works now. That should probably render under. We definitely. That's pretty. Like that's a little tight. So yeah, maybe we. So what I'm thinking right now, we probably won't end up doing this, but you ideally maybe want to change the character's collision based on its sprites, because some sprites are thinner, narrower. So that collision being that wide doesn't fully feel like it makes sense. I think the solution that I'm going to go with is just going to be making the collision in general a little more like this. And then I guess the way that we do like Z layer rendering is just figuring, okay, this is on Z height 5, so this is going to be at like Z height 4, which means that it's going to be behind the chest. Which is, I guess, a solution to that, but not ideal. Like, that's not great. Like, this whole, because it is actually in a 3D space, right? That's making the whole usual thing that you have with like 2D rendering, where you have Z orders and stuff like that. So non-intuitive, it is kind of crazy. Is it possible to add a parallax effect with a orthographic camera? No. No, because that is... Like, parallaxing is the existence of depth. I guess you could hard-code it in, but you don't want to do that. I don't think, at least. Like, the parallaxing just exists because things in the background that are big are still big in the background if you move a little to the, like, let's say a little to the right, and things that are small close by, they move out of frame, but the things in the background still exist. That is effectively what parallaxing is. But if things are all the same relative size, parallaxing ceases to exist. So if you're using an orthographic camera, you would have to offset the position of every object in the opposite direction that the camera is moving, based on how far away it is from the camera. And then you would also probably want to scale it accordingly, at which point you're just reintroducing perspective, but you've coded it yourself, and it's probably more janky than just rendering things in perspective, is what I would imagine. So I'm sure that if you're doing this in a proper 2D engine, there might be a reason to do that. I'm guessing that since we're doing this in Unreal, which everything happens in 3D anyway, I would probably just take advantage of the fact that everything usually is rendered in perspective anyway. Why don't you use a collider, box collider on the chest instead? There is a box collider on the chest. There is. But I want you to be able to walk behind the top of the chest. Is the thing, right? So when we walk here, it feels a little bit more like we're actually behind the chest. So the box collider of the chest will only... I don't know what's up with this camera. Holy shit. What the hell's going on with this camera? So yeah, the box collider of this chest, like, it has a box collision. I'll just show you like this, I guess. But it only goes up to right here. It's just the Z rendering is a little messed up because it's not actually rendering them as 2D layers. It's just rendering them all as like 3D objects that happen to be flat in a 3D space, which is I don't love that. But let's see if the tile editor in Paper 2D has anything for adding in like actors. Unreal Paper 2D tile map add actors, because I want to be able to have this just aligned to the actual tiles. But I don't know if that's possible. I'm going to go ahead and say that's probably not. Well, everything is possible, but Unreal doesn't offer a ready-made solution for it. I'm also not finding anybody looking for this, which is really weird. Paper 2D actor tile collision snapping around obstacles. You would assume that other people like want that, right? Yeah, it's all kind of weird. So yeah, I don't think the tile map itself is going to offer that functionality, and I could probably substitute that with just setting my snapping to a proper size if I could set my snapping to a custom value, which like I don't know that you can. Like, that's probably something that we should look into, right? So Unreal snapping custom value. I could have sworn that that is possible. Custom grid snapping sizes. Thank you. You can set a custom grid snapping size in editor preference viewport grid snapping. There we go. So that is, what was it? Editor preferences. Preferences, viewport. I can just look for grid snapping. Grid snap. Grid snapping. And then we have decimal grid sizes. So that's 1. Okay, so what we have is we have 16 by 16, but they're getting blown up by 5 times. So that is 60 by 60. So I just add another one here. We call that 60. And I actually just put that right up the top, which is, it's kind of nice if it doesn't order this by value, but just because it's an array. It is. Okay, cool. Let's set this back to 0, 0. Then enable snapping and check whether or not that seems like it might do the trick. I very much don't want this to be wireframe. And also would very much like this to be viewed from the top, but like 180 degrees around, if at all possible. I'm also going to turn off auto exposure. I think that's a project setting thing. So auto exposure. I'm gonna set that to manual because holy fuck is auto exposure annoying. Okay, hold on. Exposure bias is like 10. 15. That's way too bright. Holy hell. 11. And a half. That's actually pretty good. Okay, so now does it actually snap to like entire tiles? It seems like it might. Aside from the fact that it's a little bit offset, but that might be... No, that's not to do with this. But that might be to do with the origin point of the sprite. Yeah, I think that's the origin point of the sprite actually, because it's in the middle. It still shouldn't matter, but we probably want to change that up anyway. Sprites, objects, we have this sprite. Origin point should be... I guess the origin point for this we want to be like bottom left? Also, the sprite itself does have a collision preset. And we can't add it to collision for the sprite. So can we add sprite? I guess we could just... I think the issue might be is that we can, in theory, just add this as a sprite, right? And then we set this to like 0, 0, 0. Let's set this to like a value of 5. At 90 degrees rotated. Yeah, so we can just add this as a sprite in and of itself. But then it doesn't have any actual functionality. But I guess we might not actually need to... No, the moment we add it as a sprite component, it doesn't seem to have collision. That's a good question. Does this other thing have collision now? They both have collision, and this one has like collision for the entire sprite. Okay. Okay. Hold on. Does that make this thing also have collision throughout the... No. The moment I use it as a component on something else, it loses its own collision. So it probably... But that's kind of dumb, isn't it? Because when are you going to just put a sprite? I guess for like tile map purposes, but tile mapping has their own sprites. Fuck. The sprite map, the tile maps have their own collision setup, I believe. It's kind of nice that this exists, and there's probably something. Oh, it might be... Oh, hold on. When I have a sprite component, it might do that, but I have a flipbook component. So no, actually, I might just be mistaken here. Let's add a sprite component, which we can't do through C++, mind you, because it'll get rid of all the details in the details panel. So that's bullshit. But let's add a paper sprite here. Set that to the proper rotation. which I think is now the wrong way around. No, it is the proper rotation, more or less. Its position makes no fucking sense, though. Oh, no, that does actually make sense. Hold on, let me... And that's probably why it was offset to begin with in the other thing as well. We'll want to look into that. So maybe we don't want the collision to be the parent of the sprite. Maybe we want those to be two separate objects, both connected to a root. We'll think about that. I think that might make more sense to do it that way. But now that we have that, right? So now we technically have the same sprite twice. Does it block me? Okay, so when you have it as a sprite component, it still does block the collision. Which makes it double annoying that I can't add a sprite fucking component through C++, because that takes care of some of the collision stuff. I would say stick to 10 or 11. Yeah, I think 11, 11 and a half, what we have now is pretty good. So yeah, that's really annoying. Because it does kind of just fix that issue. So let's go back into our code real quick. I guess what we want to do is we want to just make a default root. So that's just scene component, root component. That needs to be a pointer. Root component. We don't need to change anything about that, I don't think. Still haven't set up Copilot, I just realized. So we're going to need to... it can be destroyed in garbage collection. Yeah, it won't be. Root component equals create default subobject type scene component root. We set that as a root component, and then we attach to root component, and we do the same thing for the collision box. It should automatically do this actually, but might as well set up attachment to the root component with f attachment. Why didn't I just copy this? This makes so much more sense to just copy over. But I guess we don't need the collision box. Hold on. We don't need the collision box if we're using a sprite. So fuck all that noise. Matter of fact, we don't need a root component if we have a sprite as well. Well, it's probably good to have separate root components still. So yeah, let's comment this out. That's leaving, and we're going back to the ID for a paper sprite on this. Which means that we need to comment out some stuff here as well. This becomes a paper sprite. Hashtag include paper sprite page. Is there anything to the ID that we couldn't edit it in the... No. I was going to say, is there anything to the ID that we couldn't edit the values for it, even though it is a exposed U property? Because the header file didn't have the include, but that makes literally no sense. So let's not even entertain that ID. Do you mean attach a component doesn't exist on Sprite? How fucking high are you? Oh, we don't need to actually forward declare this. That's nice. It tells me that. Oh, it's because it's a U-Paper Sprite component. Fucked up the same way again. And then this needs to be a U-Paper Sprite component as well. U-Paper Sprite component, that is. Now that should be fixed. There we go. Okay. How are you liking Rider? Rider has been a pleasure. It's been fun. It's been good. What the fuck are you talking about? Use of what? U-Paper Sprite components. Body. What is this include if not that? Oh, it's because it's an A-player 2D. Am I changing things in the wrong class? I'm changing things in the wrong class. Hold the fuck on. Let's change this back. Because the characters need to have their own collision box stuff still. I'm just now not paying attention here. That's entirely on me. So let's include paper flipbook components here. .h, of course. Uncomment this. And go into Actor 2D. That's the place we want to be. U paper sprites components. And here in Actor 2D as well. That's where we're going to say, hey, collision box, you go on vacation. Do that there as well. This becomes a U paper sprites component. This becomes that too, or rather we add that. And then effectively anything to do with this we comment out. I think that's all the issues. Nope. U paper sprite component still is an issue in paper. Why? Player. We didn't change anything about the player, so that can't be it. Oh, this needs to also change back to U flip book components. I might just change or close those classes after I'm sure that I fixed everything that I messed up, because we're not going to be working on that for a moment, and I don't want to get confused because this kind of stuff happens. But it's quite nice. Okay, going back to Rider, the fact that I just forward declared something and it's like, hey, you don't need to forward declare that. We already are aware that this is a class. It's kind of nice that it tells you that. Like a very small quality of life thing that it tells you that. It's still nice. Yeah, so now for some reason the collision box itself doesn't have details either. What? Okay, let's close these header files because again we're going to be touching those for a little bit because we're just fucking going insane. Moreover, how does it still have that component when I commented out the code that creates it? I'm going to go into class settings, and I'm just going to change this real quick into a normal actor. There might be a way to like refresh this as well. I always... If anybody knows if there's a way to refresh this in a better way than just setting this to actor and then back, please do tell me, because I believe that there is a better way to reset this, like refresh that. But it's there. It's there. Why is it there now? I'm happy that it is, but why? What the fucking Jesus? And it's even orientated the way I would like it to be, because this I guess it sets this in the, yeah, no, that makes sense. Okay. Oh, except that it might not be. Hold on. Yeah, so this is highly annoying. Yeah, no, that works. That works perfectly fine. The only issue is that this is not technically like offset properly, I don't think. But that seems pretty fixable if we just set this, because I think it is to do with the fact that its origin point is in the middle here, which is kind of messing it up. So if I set the pivot mode here to like bottom left, I think that fixes that. Yeah, so now it exactly lines up with my grid. Or maybe not. Like it exactly lines up in the X direction now. Is it because the grid itself is offset somewhat? Nope. Does it exactly line up on the other side as well in the X direction is the question, and it does. It is 16 by 32, so it should line up. What does it do at the bottom of this entire thing? Does it line up there? Is it just like a 1 pixel issue? I think it's just a 1 pixel issue at the top. Which is really weird. It might just be a perspective thing. Hold on. No, it's definitely not just a perspective thing. It's just weird. That must mean that it's like 14 pixels tall or something like that. Did I mess up? Did I mess up? It could just be that I messed up. No, it's definitely 16 pixels tall. I don't know. Pixel per unit is 0.2. Everything's been set to 0.2 so far. No idea why that doesn't line up, but it's actually like not that important. What is more important is the fact that everything is flipped upside down when I go into top view mode. Can we change that? I guess the way we can change that is just to like active selected object, this one please, and then just rotate this 180 degrees. And now everything is the right way up, which also might actually make more sense with... Oh yeah, now this is the positive direction. For some reason... Oh, that is also the positive direction. I thought for some reason this was going to be the negative direction. That actually does make more sense. This just... That is the way that it should be. Where the fuck did the chest go? Like, actually, where did that go? Oh, that's still just hanging out there. Okay, so now when I put in a chest here, which is again going to be... It's upside down. Now it is upside down. Oh, okay. So... What we do is instead of doing this by 90, we do this by minus 90, right? That's the way we fix that. I think that's the way we fix that. Because this character itself is now rotated 180 degrees. I want the sprite to be rotated, not the character itself, I don't think. So let's go back here. After we make sure we save everything, because again, writer doesn't do that, I don't think. And we just change this from 90 to minus 90, and then somewhere in here, hold on. Character. Somewhere in my source directory. Where is it? That's all paper 2D plugin stuff. Should be in source, right? Developer, no. Editor, no. Wrong source directory. Games. Oh, that's where we're at. Source, TCG Tycoon. There. Makes sense. Okay, let's go back into character 2D. CPP actually is the one we want. There we go. And also set this to minus 90. That should also then go through to the player. So yeah, rebuild. Which that might actually mess up the collision as well for the player, but that's a thing that we can fairly easily fix. So that's not a huge deal. Okay. So if we go Control or Alt J, and then again lit, and we just put in a new player, test player, which again is going to be at like minus whatever the fuck. Okay, that's good. Except that we need the sprite to just be a little lower down. But maybe not that much. Yeah, the sprite is not going to like adhere to the grid anyway. Or the player rather, so that's probably fine. Why? Oh. I think it's time that we set this up properly with a game mode. And for now we'll just make that a blueprint class real quick. Game mode. Actually, I think we probably do have like in starter content somewhere. Do we already have... Like, what is our game mode? Game mode override none. Some project settings, right? Game mode. Game mode base. That is probably C++, isn't it? Yeah. We'll probably make our own C++ game mode at some point, but for now we'll just make this blueprint one. And then we can change its parents class later. So that's BP shop game mode. Where we can set our default pawn to be our test player. And then we can just put a player start in somewhere. At like there-ish. Or not. Oh yeah, of course. We do need to then set our new thing to our other thing with the things and the stuff. Okay, yeah, so this doesn't work anymore because of all that. Also, why is it so zoomed in? Oh, because we only changed it in that one instance. No, that makes sense. Let's go back to our test player, which we really need to change the name of at some point. Our default camera is definitely going to need to have a much wider field of view, like 150, maybe even just higher up, which is effectively the same result here. Except that this might introduce some fisheye. We'll see. Like, I might set this to orthographic at some point. I don't know. But I also definitely want to make sure that this... I think this is the direction that we want to be. No. 90 degrees more. Yeah, I think this is the direction that we want it to be facing. So let's test that out. Oh, yeah. My controls are inverted now. As well as my walking animations. Okay. That's kind of weird. But that should be easy enough to change, because we just take this player inputs and we say, hey, we had our left. Didn't have any modifiers. But this one does. So we can just paste that modifier in there, remove it from there, remove it from there. No, hold on, keep it there. Remove that. Change that. Hold on. This should be negated. I think up and down might still be messed up, but we'll see. Yeah, okay. So he's still moonwalking everywhere, but at least the movement inputs match up. And this then... That's weird. It's kind of weird. That it does that. Don't fully understand why it does that, if I'm being real with you. Because we save our last input, which should now be changed due to that in this variable. For left and right, it not having switched actually makes sense, because we're doing that through the other code. So this makes sense that it's messed up. But this should just work. Either way, since we're doing this through the code, we need to actually go in here and switch these two lines around. No, not these two lines around. This symbol is what we need to switch around. I'm just gonna live code this because I don't really feel like rebuilding the entire engine every time for things like this. But that should fix the left and right issue, right? Yeah, so left and right now display the proper ones. I still don't know why these are messed up. Because again, we... set our input direction, which is like already taking all that into account, so it should just work. Right. Oh, I guess it... No, I guess that makes sense. Does it? Now, that still doesn't make sense. Because it still should be giving the proper like X values for them when this is the case. Because it does that last input, right? Wait, doesn't it? Yes, no, it does. Yes, no, it does. Holy hell. English. I can English very good. It applies the movement in the right direction. It just doesn't apply the direction in the right direction. Well, let's see if there's any... That definitely should also just be rotated to 0. Well, actually, no, I guess that does make sense, doesn't it? Because when we are... No, that does make sense. That does make sense. Because when we're moving up, we're moving... Yeah, no, okay, let me talk about this. When we're moving up, we're moving in this direction. Because we're adding value to... So that's a little fucked. But it's, I guess it is also the only... maybe... So maybe what we want is for everything to... Like, this should be the up direction, not this. There's also a quirk that Godot has. I did like get that far into it, knowing that like the down direction is Y positive. Which doesn't make a lot of sense because you would expect the bottom left to be 0, 0, but it's the top left that is 0, 0. I think it'll just be easier to get used to top left being 0, 0, to be honest with you. But everything is outlined to the bottom left now. That's the choice that I made. So, well, everything is just this one thing, right? So... Yeah, let's just try to get used to the idea that top left is 0, 0, and we'll just switch these two around. So this will be the... As much as it doesn't make sense, this will be the down, and this will be the up walking direction. And then for idle, we do the same thing. This will be the down, and this will be the up. So that should fix that. And then in the BP chest, no, not in the BP chest, just in the sprite for chest, we're going to change the outlining for that as well, just to be consistent with everything. So that it outlines on the top left instead. Which also makes this gizmo thing a little bit more satisfying to use, I suppose. But now, oh, now it doesn't. Why does that not align anymore now? What? How does that make sense? Because I only moved it down, right? I didn't move it left or right. So why does it no longer align? It is disaligned by half a tile. Alright, let me just add in a new chest. Which again, gets added in a weird ass height. But we can just, every time we add something at 0, 0, 0, I suppose, and then increase it by 1. Is this the thing that gets offset? No. Yes. No, yes it is. That is the issue. That has been the issue the entire fucking time. I think, because is it? No, it's still really weird that this changed after changing that one value. But we have the tile maps here, right? So if we go into tile maps, maybe it's the tile map here. Surely these tiles have an origin point of their own. Border margin. No. Because who thought it would be a good idea for the pivot point of this tile map to be the center point of the top left tile? Like, if you're gonna pivot this at the top left, you pivot it at the top left of the top left, not the center of the top left. That is fucking psychotic. Right? That is actual, like, Joker behavior. So where can I change this? Because that is insane. You're not telling me that I cannot change this. If I cannot change this, I am losing my shit. It is not a we're gonna stop with this project kind of losing my shit, but it will still be a I'm not happy kind of losing my shit. Pivot. Do we have anything pivot offsets? That would be then like 30 by 30 offset. Yeah, that doesn't do shit, does it? Oh, that's 30 by 30 the wrong way around. This is bad. But at least, like... What do you mean it's right there? What? Hold on. Does this have anything with, like, a pivot? Nothing to do with pivots here. I don't even need to look through a search menu that, by the way, doesn't exist here, because it's nothing to do with that. So it just aligns. It just aligns you. What do these buttons do? Flip horizontal or vertical. Nice. Rotates the brush. Oh, this is for rotating the brush. That's kind of nice. But what genius came up with the idea of having this tile map be aligned to the top left, but not quite? There is an easy fix to this. Just offset the entire thing by the 30 by 30... 32? 35? 40? Oh, that might be the issue, is that I did my math wrong. Oh, I did... Yeah, no, I did my math wrong. So, these tiles are 16 by 16. That doesn't excuse the fact that this is bullshit, by the way, still, the way that this is outlined. But this still won't now go tile by tile, because these tiles are 16 by 16, right? And if we if we just open up a calculator real quick, they're 16 by 16 and they're increased 5 times their size, which is 80, not 60. What I did in my head was 12 by 12 times 5. Which is 60. But obviously, they're 16 by 16 pixels, not 12 by 12 pixels. So that is my bad. Let's change this to 80. So now we're snapping these at 80, and now everything snaps properly to the grid. Okay. Sanity regained. We're good. There's 2 player starts, because why the fuck wouldn't there be? Why am I not colliding with this? Why am I not colliding with it? Anybody care to fucking explain why I'm not colliding with this motherfucking thing? Oh, actually, I think I know why. Because I never... No, it's set to blocking all dynamic. What? The chest sprite has... like added collision? Like the collision... To be fair, I want the collision to go down a little. Like, can I please do that? Is there any... Yeah, so we can just select these and then like move this. Of course, let's do it to snapping, that's why. I want this collision to move down a little bit, that's fair. The BP chests, maybe it's something to do with the collision on this. Do we have... that's Ector Advanced collision. It doesn't have any collision. But this thing should have collision. It's on block all dynamic. Is that because my player is not technically something dynamic? Is it not set to pawn collision? This should be block all, right? This is world dynamic, and it blocks everything. So then back to my question. The actual fuck. And this is where we get into... Yeah, that's probably why. Because of the height difference. I don't know why that thing got suddenly set to a height of 92, but now that's at the height of 1 again. Now it'll probably collide, right? Yeah, now it collides. No problem. So... we're getting there, slowly but surely. Is it a pleasant time? I'm going to decide to not answer that question. Because it's not. Oh yeah, that does make sense. So we just want this to spawn at 1. That is the issue. We had the player start at a weird location. So the fact that that even can be an issue, right, it is entirely due to the fact that Unreal, while supporting this 2D stuff, it is just not built for it, and its interface is like entirely built to work in a three-dimensional space. It's like the Z layering is actually done in 3D Z space rather than as a rendering order, which is how Z ordering is usually done. So... and to be fair, there is some interesting stuff that you can more easily do because it is done in 3D space. You can, in theory, make something like if you have like a tree, right? So we have like a tree, very fancy tree. You can make these 2 different sprites where like the trunk of the tree, if you look at it from the side, would be here. And the top of the tree could be like here. Meaning that if your character is here, it can be in front of the trunk and behind the leaves. Which is a lot easier to do with this than with like normal Z layering. you could argue, but now that I'm actually explaining it like this, no, it's actually not, because you can very easily just set this to Z layer like 1, or Z layer like -1, this to Z layer 2, and this to Z layer 0. So, no, actually, scrap that. There's no reason for... There's no positive here. This is just not. Okay, anyway, now that we have that set up, maybe we should take a step away from all the 2D bullshit that we have here. I guess there's one more thing that I want to do just to try it out, and that is adding a new layer here for layer 2. And what I want to do is I want to just add a couple of carpets in here. So I just like... Yeah, that's kind of nice. That's kind of nice. So now if I go back in here, we immediately have those carpets. And the wonderful thing is that I think we can say, hey, take this tile and we can add a box collision to it. And just like that now, this tile in its entirety has box collision. Which, again, this is just like very basic 2D shit. But, okay, never mind. Maybe it doesn't. Let's see. There is a thing that you can do to do that. Like colliding tiles. Maybe it's got something to do with the collision depth. Collision thickness. Yeah. Okay, so I don't think the collision updates automatically. So if I want the collision here to update, what I need to do is like just clear this out and set it up again. And does it have collision now? Is that how that works? Copy the asset reference. That's our component. Let's see if I add in some more. I do remember there being an issue with all this. I just don't remember what the issue is. But I think it's supposed to show you the collision even like in this view. So this... okay, so now the collision does work now. I don't know what I did to fix it, but it does work now. So yeah, we have the option to also add collision. I don't want collision here, so can we just... Oh, that's a good question. Can I remove the collision? I can add it. Did they think about removing it? Oh, you can probably remove it over here, right? Just by, yeah, just by getting rid of these. So now it doesn't have collision anymore. So the question is, what happens now? Right? There's still collision. So in order to update this, what I do need to do is do this and then get it back. And now the collision should be updated with it. Yeah, so that's how that works. It's not great. It could be worse. And what is kind of nice is that it does have this like layering system, right? So we can actually set this layer to be on a different like physical height, which will create some level of parallaxing. Just need to figure out where that is. Oh yeah, separation per layer. If I set this to like 50, let's actually set it to 500, right? And we go back here. Now you can see that this layer is being rendered significantly higher up, which... okay, so it renders the top to the bottom layer. So it renders this one, and then the next layer below it, it's 500 units under, which will create parallaxing because it's rendering with actual like depth and perspective, because it's a 3D engine, so it does actually do that. So that's kind of nice. I don't want that. So separation, I think it was set to 4 by default. Let's actually set it to 1. because I want everything to be like entirely flat. And it does update that instantly, at least. Not the collision, but those separations it does. Okay. Yeah, as I was saying, the cards. I think we should be looking into starting up the card system. So let's make some classes for that. We want to make a new C++ class of type primary data asset. And this is going to be card assets. We're going to stick with more or less the same system as we did in Godot, where we used custom resources. That's going to be data assets in Unreal Engine, of course. The CPP file doesn't really need anything, I don't think. It's just... Okay, I'm still getting used to merging things in Writer. I think the only thing we really need is a texture. Yeah, no, okay, so the only things we need are an image, which is going to be a texture, a text, a name, and they're all going to be U properties. So let's just start writing this out. Edit defaults only, which is going to be a U. Is it image texture? Image texture. It's just view texture, I think. I don't usually do this kind of stuff in C++. U texture. Card image. Probably need to forward declare that actually. No, we don't. Oh, huh. Interesting. And then we also want a U property edit defaults only for the it's going to be an F string card name, and then a U. And then the other thing that we need is we need a inventory component that holds an array of these together with their rarity. So the struct and enum that go with that, probably want to make that in that file, not here. But they're both going to be they're both going to be needing I think it actually does make sense to hear me out here. I think it does make sense to put at least the U enum here, which needs to start with an E, card rarity. Because this card rarity enum is only ever going to be relevant in the context where we also have a card asset, in which case this header file is going to need to be included anyway. So these two things always go together. Whereas I might want to reference the card's rarity for whatever reason in a class that doesn't have a reference to the inventory component. I don't see a reason to do that. Unless I make like the sales things, like the things that you put the cards on to put them for sale. Those might not need to have like a proper inventory component because they're only going to have one slot. So I do think that this makes the most sense. Let's call this common, uncommon, could you not? Could you not? Why does it make a copy of that when I do shift enter? That makes no sense. I just want to thank you. Rare and legendary. I feel like I misspelled legendary, which is kind of embarrassing. No, I didn't. Just lose my mind. So we have this enum also in here, which probably should be a blueprint. What is the difference between blueprint able and blueprint type? Expose this even as an acceptable for creating blueprints. The default is not blueprintable unless inherited otherwise. Blueprint type is exposes enum as a type that can be used as a variable in blueprints. Exposes enum as an acceptable for creating blueprints. What is the difference? Oh, can you make child classes of an enum class? And this would allow you to make a child class of this enum type? Is that what that means? Huh, sure. We're going to make this a blueprint type anyway, because we need to access this through blueprint at some point, most likely. And then I think for the exact same reason, we might want to have the struct for the card slot, which is a card resource and a rarity together, in here as well. Right? Well, no, that card slot is only ever going to be relevant in the context of an inventory, so we technically probably don't need it outside of that. But since we're putting the rarity here anyway, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to... I like having my classes at the bottom. I'm going to put in a use struct here as well. Hey, Godot users, are you jealous? I'm going to expose this to the editor, and it's going to work. Card slots. And this is just going to have a U property edit anywhere. Yeah, U card assets pointer card assets and a U property edit anywhere for E card rarity card rarity. What's the issue here? I'm trying to get like a tooltip. Import a type, multiple choices. Buddy. What actually is the issue though? Because that should work, right? If I... That works. What if I make this a U property? It's the moment I make it a U property that it doesn't like it anymore. Hold on. You cannot use raw enum name as a type variable. You need T enum byte as. That's the issue. I forgot about that. So yeah, Unreal has its own quirks. T enum as byte, and then we need to use card rarity. Card rarity. We're going to just make you shut up for now. Unable to find class delegate enum struct with name T enum as what? Oh, there we go. Okay, so you also had something to bitch about, I think. Import type, multiple choices. I think that's going to be fine. I'm being 100% honest with you. So let's try and save everything here and then build with our new class. which is going to require me to probably import like some more stuff. So let me take a look at that. We have our chests with cards. What is card? Oh, these are the data assets into their own folders. We can very easily just get a reference to like all cards from a asset manager in a specific directory. So that's dragon, card text. Are we back? We're back. How long was I gone? Like literally you cannot stream. Which is not good, because I spent like 5 hours a week trying to stream, at least. So, the internet lately. And we're back with streaming. For literally a second. And now we're back down again. Are we? Even my phone is like, no, I don't have Wi-Fi. My phone is on 5G. Okay, yeah. We're back with internet connection. Does that mean that OBS is also back with internet connection? It kind of seems like it maybe. No, it's not. You think I can sue my internet provider for lost, for like damages? For lost revenue because my live stream is fucking up? It would be like 50 cents. But at this point, I would do it as a matter of principle. Where even is my like live dashboard on YouTube? Okay, that's where it's at. Excellent connection. Yeah, I kind of doubt that. We're back up. We're back up, at least for now. I do wonder how much content it missed there. Oh my god, like 20 minutes ago it's showing... Oh no, it does show me making the enum at least, so I did get that. Actually, it seems like it didn't miss that much. So that's good. Except that probably everybody who was watching at this point has left because I was down for like 10 minutes. Because again, my internet provider or other people on my router, one or the other, needs to just like fucking jump off a roof or something. Okay, so yeah, the widgets. I'm just going to put it in here right now because I can't be fucked to organize things anymore. User widgets. This is widget blueprint for the card. Which I guess we'll put in a size box. Very good question. What are we going to do with that? For now, the first thing that we do is we put an image in it. And that image is going to be the card border, which is humongous, with a height override. Design on screen is going to be like... What is the aspect ratio? What is even the image dimensions of this thing? Properties. Details. It is... Hold on. Does it not say? Doesn't... Multiple values. Oh, I'm looking at multiple images. That'll probably do it. It is 621 by 893 pixels. So let's stick with that for now. 621 by 893. Oh, I said 893. That'll be the proper size. And then under that image, we're going to add in another under that size box, I guess. Oh, we can only have one of these. Oh, that's fucked. We need an overlay. We need to wrap this in an overlay. No, we don't need to wrap that in an overlay. We need to wrap this in an overlay. We'll get there. I promise you, we'll get there. Just getting distracted by literally dropping off the face of the internet was a little annoying there. Okay, but now we should be able to put in another image there. Yeah, we can. Which is going to have a different Z height. You see, now we're doing some actual 2D stuff. Meaning that we have Z heights. Where is it? Where is the render height for this image? Z. Wait, what? Or maybe we don't. Surely we do. Transform pivot now. No, I don't think that's it either. Anyway, let's put in the dragon as a placeholder real quick. Yeah, I think that's it's a bit on the big side, isn't it? But we can put in another, we can wrap this in another size box. Right, so we can wrap this in a, not replace, but wrap with a size box. And then the size box can be whatever size we need it to be. Something like that. And then the padding for it, I think. Hopefully this scales well. I don't know that it will. Oh, that's annoying. This is not a value that you can like drag around. I guess we'll just do this by good old trial and error. 70-70? 70-85? 70... 100. 115. 135. 135 is actually pretty good. And an 80. Let's do 75. And then from there we can just size this as it should be. Now, we do need to render this at a lower layer. Which seems to be an issue for some reason. Oh, and the alignment probably should be center for both of these. I don't think it matters because of the size box. Let me look this up real quick because I'm a little confused. Except that I can't look anything up because my internet is shit. Unreal widgets image Z layer. Yeah, how to erase an image in Z order. Surely that's the thing. Added the Z order property in the details panel. Z. There is no Z order on this image. Why does one of these have padding and the other one doesn't? It's besides the point. Is it an image? No, it's not an image size. I was thinking maybe we have a texture. I feel like I'm going mad. Why, what? Is it because I need it to be a variable? Is that it? I mean, I do need this one specifically to be a variable. I can just do it like this, I guess, because they don't have to be like children of each other, so that works. Well, technically, I probably would want it to be child of. Oh, we just can't have children. I guess this is how we do it then. Except that when the so that is an issue, isn't it? When the size of them changes, like everything gets fucked up because it's not actually like using a canvas. But you're not supposed to use. People are gonna yell the fuck out of me if I use a canvas panel for this card. It's the thing, right? So. How's it compared to Godot so far? Well, I mean, Unreal's very clearly not a 2D engine. Like, all of its 2D stuff is wacky as fuck. But everything else is better, so I don't know. Let's just render these on screen and see what happens. I think that is a good first thing to try to do. Oh, better yet, fuck, what the hell's happening there? Better yet is, I'll just make a user widget real quick, just and add a canvas panel to that. If we add a card to this, right, it should. Yeah, so that's the issue. That's why you want to use a canvas panel in that case. Because just doing this with padding does not work. But maybe we can do something with the overlay. No, I think this does need to be done with a canvas panel, to be honest with you, because it's not going to scale properly unless this is using a canvas panel. Right? Because there's a lot of like individual details here that need to actually stay in place where they are when this thing scales up and down. Put them both under the same parent. They are all under this size box. That's the thing. But when this size box changes size, because the these both under the, but then still they're both under this overlay. So like I don't think that quite works. Maybe if this is not in a size box. And instead just also part of the overlay. But then how do I force it to be like, because this is not a canvas panel, I don't have the ability to easily change where on the screen this exists and how big it is. So I can very much just set the image size like this. That's probably okay. Probably change the order of this around for rendering purposes. If I set the, I suppose we want to outline this to there, and then, but now this is going to be a like static value, right? So there's not going to change when I change the size. Maybe it will. I don't know. Let's try it. Fuck, try it out. Yeah, you see that scale's weird. Did I compile this? I did compile this. So that scales weird. So that does need to be. It straight up needs to be a canvas panel in order for this to scale properly. Center it. That's not going to change it. I can pretty much promise you that that's not going to change my issue, because it is an alignment issue. Because now I need to set the I guess we set the bottom padding to like 50. Maybe this will change it actually. Yeah, that does change it. You're right. Well, still not entirely what I want. Yeah, now that when I make it bigger, it does a good job. When I make it smaller, it starts to fall apart. But that might be just because of the size box. Like, can we... replace with child? If we get rid of the size box altogether, does that fix my shit? I don't think it does. No. So yeah, this doesn't really scale very well. Oh yeah, now it doesn't even scale properly with that. Okay. And anchored to the same point. Yeah, okay, but the thing is that I think they are, right? So they're both anchored. Yeah, they're both anchored to center. Like they're both aligned to center. They seem misaligned, yeah, but they're not. This feels both horizontal and vertical. Maybe the overlay needs to be centered as well. I'm trying to be like somewhat optimized about this, but yeah, no, it's just that they get misaligned, because the thing is, right, is that this thing needs to be aligned, not to like the middle here. This thing needs to be aligned and scale to like the middle plus something. And I don't think you can do that without a canvas panel. With a canvas panel, this is very easy to do. We can just like replace this size box with a canvas panel. And if we were to do that, we let's make this design on screen. Now we can actually properly like set anchoring stuff for this. So this should be this image. I think now we might also get the Z height unlocked. No, we don't. Okay, that's just anyway. Yeah, so now instead of using this overlay, we can just move this right into the canvas panel. And we can say that this card frame itself should just be like full screen. So it will always be the same size as the canvas panel. Which should be like this big-ish. We actually have a size for this. Hold on. Was it like 640 by 890 or something like that? Something like that. And if I can then just get this image, which also is now very weirdly shaped. Oh, it's this image. My bad. Like this image should then always anchor to... Why is this being an issue now? Like if we always try to anchor this to the center, like, can I lock this? I want to lock this one and that one, so I can move. Not this one though. Yeah, so I can just move this one around a little bit. Why does that happen? Wait, what? Okay, I don't know why this is being so difficult. I thought this was going to solve my issue. It clearly will not. Yeah, so we can set the position here. It's just the size of the... Let's just set this to fill screen. Hold on. If we just set this to fill screen, it'll make my life a little bit easier for now, because we can just do this. It was the desired on screen that was fucking me. But now, the point being, is that I can make this like anchor properly to its position where it should be. And now when I compile this, when I drag it into a different thing, it will always scale properly no matter what happens. The only issue is that when you do this, like 2 million Unreal Engine purists come out of the woods and start yelling at you about using too many canvas panels. But I honestly don't think that for what I'm doing here, I have any other alternatives that work, because like the whole thing about canvas panels is that it can do this type of like proper, like easily scalable anchoring. That is what canvas panels offers you. So Unreal like canvas panel alternative, they're just going to tell me to use an overlay. Make one chart, another alignment properly with... I don't think that's going to do it. But we can try. We can try. I'm going to make a duplicate of this and we'll try that. But I don't think that's going to do what we needed to do. Set this back to desired on screen. Replace this again with... oh, we can't replace that. Sure, let's cut these out. Just put in a hello. Oh, the widget is locked. That's why I couldn't replace it. Okay. Replace with overlay. Like if we set this as a child of... Yeah, so images can't even have children. So that doesn't work either. I can't set one image as a child of another image. The only thing that I could do is having another overlay within this overlay, and that overlay has the border image in it, which has an overlay in it which has this image in it. But now we have the rendering order issue. And for some reason, none of these things have a Z order. Which is still really confusing, because I could have sworn that they're supposed to. You can often use canvas panels all together by using overlay size boxes with horizontal, vertical. And Yeah, I know, but I don't think that in this case I'll be able to do that. Because the horizontal and vertical, like, padding things, like, I can try. Like, if I just revert this again and change this from an overlay to... Well, maybe it can just be an overlay still. And then this image, let's see, now it's this image. This image size we can set to something like a little bit more reasonable. Like, at that point, what I could do, I suppose, is... Like, I would need to put this in a horizontal box that would be in a vertical box. And the main issue is its alignment is slightly above centered. So you do have like a padding thing, right? I always forget what it's called. Panels? No, I don't think it's a panel. Primitives? Probably not a primitive. Special effects? Definitely not. Advanced? Probably not. Miscellaneous. Expandable area? What's that? Oh yeah, that's just... No, that's definitely not it. Input. Editor. Yeah, so I think the idea then would be that I use a... like a horizontal box, effectively. No, not a horizontal box. A... like a vertical box inside here. But that would align them... This is the issue that I keep coming back to, right? Because I can use this very easily to align them on top of each other. Like this. But I need to align this image to be inside of there. Which is where the problems come in. But there is also... there is another type of thing that I'm entirely blanking on right now. That might still be able to help us here. I don't think it's a scale box. Optimization. The retainer box. Runs a child widget. Runs an entire child widget. That's definitely not it. Synth uncategorized. User created. Yeah, that's definitely not it either. I used the thing that I'm thinking about. Maybe that's a common UI thing. Like a spacer. It's a spacer. That's what it is. There we go. Okay, so instead of using the... Oh, no. Wrap with... nothing, actually. Just move this back into there. So then the idea could be that I like use a spacer here. And put this into a... like... let's say a horizontal box. If I put this into a horizontal box... we're going to get there, eventually. Put that there so that it renders properly. And put in a spacer. Then I can align this spacer to, like, what even, like, this just adds padding. Which is not, like, at that point I might as well be adding padding to the image itself, right? This doesn't actually do anything for me, I don't think. Well, I mean, I guess it can do that. Right, so... maybe this will scale properly? That would be neat. And if we put another spacer on the other side, hello? This is not inside the horizontal box. Is that the issue? Okay, that is the issue. Cool. And then I put this entire thing inside of a vertical box. Like, I don't know. Maybe I'm mistaken here, but this does feel like it is not going to save me much in terms of like computing compared to just using a canvas panel. But that's maybe I'm underestimating how much a canvas panel actually uses. But it feels like this is like not going to save me that much. And it is a lot more painful, and I still think it's not going to work. But we'll see. Maybe it will. Maybe this is going to save me. So we have this spacer, which we can size up out the other direction. So we size this down. Yeah, I have a very, very bad feeling about this. This is the only way that makes sense for this to work in my mind. Oh, this image in general is just a little bit on the large side. Hold on. That's my bad. Which then now means that this is probably all kinds of messed up again, right? Well, not this one, but this one certainly is. The issue with canvas panels is that they add too many draw costs. If you have one canvas panel, 2 images, it's 2 draw calls. If you have 2 images and 2 canvas panels, it's 4 draw calls. Yeah, I understand that, but I don't know that this is going to be that much better, to be honest with you. But maybe it is. I don't know. We'll see. Okay, card 1. Let's see if this scales properly. If this scales properly, that's fantastic, but it like instantly doesn't. Okay. That might still be a fixable thing. Yeah, I get that it is a scalable thing, right? It's 2 draw calls is not that much, but if you have like 100 of these, it's like suddenly 200 draw calls. I get that. But at the same time, having this thing scale properly seems to literally only be a thing that I can do. With a canvas panel, because adding in these boxes like this, now I'm effectively just saying, hey, we have like this spacing here, and that's a static value that's not going to get like stretched, and well, we probably don't need to stretch it, but we do need to scale it up and down. And these spaces are just static values. Like this is just always going to be like 141.289 blah blah blah. Which is then creating this issue, right? If I want to make this thing smaller, the image stays behind. Whereas doing this through a canvas panel with everything properly anchored, like I can even stretch them out because everything is properly anchored and I can make them smaller without too much trouble. So I just straight up don't think that there's a reasonable way to make this image like scalable. Even if I... Okay, but if I scale this, it does work. Hold on, but that's weird. That is weird. Because that does work. So... let me try again. Because if we can get this to be a... like not fuck me up too bad with draw calls kind of deal, that would be fantastic. I suppose if we just scale them through the transform, that is what we want. So instead of doing this with an overlay, hold on. Okay, I think we got this. We just need to scale them through their transform, which is still not ideal, but it'll probably do. Your anchor's way off. I mean, I can there is alignment. I can align these things to the center, but that's about it. That's the whole thing about not using a canvas panel, is that I don't have like proper anchoring. On the second window? What the hell even? Which second window? The issue is that this image just doesn't scale, it only moves. This one. This anchor is not relevant to anything that's happening here. I don't think. I mean, I can try making this, but that's not going to fix this. Yeah, that has literally nothing to do with each other. I can anchor this. Doesn't change the fact that that doesn't work. I can anchor it like that. Still messed up. That is the issue. But I think if we just, instead of doing this with an overlay, if we change this to, we can make this work. It's still not going to be pretty. It's still not going to be nice to work with, but it'll perform better. Isn't that just the truth on everything? Always. If we change this to a size box instead, I would very much like to... Okay, it will not let me do that. Let's try to wrap it in a size box. That'll do. Oh, because it's got multiple different children. If I just like physically set this to override to like whatever values I set it to before. Okay, that might be a little too big. Hold on, we'll get there. We're getting there. We're getting there. We're getting there. So this. So I think I set it to 890 actually by 640. Not quite 640. Was it 630? Was it 625? Just 620? I'm not sure. But now that it's in a size box, when I... Let's remove this. When I drag one in, it'll be... Did I not compile this? I did compile it. So why is this messed up? When I drag it in. Like this initially works and now it doesn't. Does this have any overriding values? No. Well, that doesn't make sense. If we can just force this to be a certain size and then just scale it with its transform, I think that fixes things, but it needs to spawn in its proper size, and it's not keen on doing that for some reason. Like, let's get rid of everything. Add in my canvas panel. And then let's add in my cards again. So it's this card. It's just fucked. By the way, you can Z-order in canvas panel. Oh, does it have? Oh, it has Z-order now because it's in the canvas panel slot. Okay, that's fantastic. That clears up a bit of confusion that I had before, where I couldn't find the Z-order. It's specifically only in canvas panel stuff. Everything else needs to be rendered through just like hierarchy ordering, I suppose, which is fine. That's cool. But like this just doesn't work, and I'm starting to not really understand why. So this way with horizontal and vertical boxes is just not going to be the way we do it. Because this just doesn't work. So let's try... We can still do something similar. Like if we just set this up and set this guy's like padding manually to what it needs to be, which I think was like 65, 70, 75, 75, but like 135-ish, 140. I think this will now, at least when I import this, no, still not. To be honest, this would be much easier if your images are of the same size. Yeah, but like they shouldn't have to be. If they were just of the same size, you could just like put them on top of each other and call it a day. But that also doesn't solve my issue, because this thing is also going to need to have text on it that scales properly with it. So like that honestly, like that doesn't actually solve the alignment problem, making the image the same size. It just circumvents it. So like the more I think about this, the more I'm like, yeah, no, I don't think that this works on anything that is not a canvas panel. I'm fairly certain that in order to accomplish this entire thing, that the only real way to do it is a canvas panel. Like I'm not a UI like guru or anything, in the slightest, but like I pretty much exhausted all of the options that I know of at this point, and it just doesn't want to scale properly. So I think we're just gonna stick with the canvas panel version. People who say don't use canvas panel are the same people who say never cast or anything. To a certain extent, yeah. But I think the canvas panel crowd does have a little bit more of a point due to the draw call thing. Because like casting to something that is already loaded in memory actually just doesn't have any like bad side to it. While canvas panels do still like scale like shit due to the draw call issue. So they have a point, but like at a certain, like at some point, something being bad for performance, but also being the only way that the engine allows me to do it, is just kind of something that we have to live with, I suppose. So let's set this like its default size to 320 by what is 430? That's half the size, so that's pretty good. Yeah, so now we can easily like add some text into this as well. So let's add the text into this. Widget is locked, of course it is. Let's add some text into this, which will be the card name. I wasted so much time on this. So yeah, the card name will be anchored to this. So yeah, this is where the issue also would come in, right? Because this also needs to properly... Let's make this a little smaller. Like there. Make it black, so that's readable. This would need to like be anchored to this area, and then we have the card text as well, which exists a little bit under it and needs to be anchored to this area down here as well. Like, there's no way in hell that I'll be able to make something that would properly scale with all these elements in it, I don't think. Or maybe I just suck at making UI stuff, which like probably a little bit of both. Let's like fill screen on this one. And if we now put in one of these cards, these actually don't seem to scale like they should. Why not? Is it because... Oh, it's probably because of that, I imagine. Might be because of all this. Hold on. Compile. Yeah, so they kind of do get squished together if the card is really tiny. But again, I do think for the most part what we're going to do is we're going to be scaling this with its transform and not with all that other stuff. It just like needs to be able to spawn in a proper configuration like this. And then from there we can make it smaller by doing like this, right? Which would make it like insanely small. But that's pretty much the idea. So actually let's just give that a variable for that, just like scale. We can just make like scale can be a float, and its default value, of course, will be 1. And then on pre-construct we set, there's a very good question, what do we set? I guess we set the scale of the entire canvas panel, right? Oh, no, I don't care about it squishing. Squishing is not the issue. It's just scaling in general. Like, this doesn't matter. This doesn't matter. But even within the same aspect ratio, again, if I take in this card over here, like, the way it spawns in initially is fucked. And if I want to scale this down, even in the same aspect ratio, it doesn't. it just doesn't want me to do that. Let alone if I start adding in the text in there. That's going to be super fucked. So now the fact that it can squish is just a test on whether or not everything works properly. From there, again, we're going to always spawn this in like the same aspect ratio. You're right about that. So yeah, the canvas panel itself, I think, is what I want to like set scale. Is that what we want? Gonna figure it out in a moment. I don't think that's the thing that we're looking for, to be honest with you. Also, what's going on here? Why does that suddenly do that? That's weird. Yeah, it's not render scale that I want to set. It is render transform. Maybe it is render transform. Yeah, no, that is okay. So that's still gonna be, but we always want to scale it down. We always want to scale it down, actually. So that's probably not even that big a deal if we do it that way. I think. Okay, let's do this differently. We're going to add this to a what is it called again? Like an item grid panel uniform. No, it's not a grid panel. It is something. I should enter stream soon. My mind is. I have to try manual anchoring image to each other. How do you mean? Because again, the only way that I can like do this type of anchoring, where it like properly anchors them to the proper like space relative to everything else here, is through a canvas panel. Otherwise, the only thing that I can do is align them center, left, right, and top, center, and bottom, and add padding. But that padding doesn't scale particularly well. Like if I can have something, and that is the main issue. I think that is the main issue, right? Card one. The main issue here is that I want to anchor things to places that are not exactly one of these alignments. If I just want to anchor something to exactly the left top, it's not a problem. If I just want to anchor something to exactly the middle, it's not a problem. But what we actually end up with is that we have, hold on, we'll get there, is that like the actual middle is about here, and I need to anchor this thing about here. At which point you'd say, okay, just anchor it to the middle and add some padding to have it go up. But that only works in the size that it is right now. If it then becomes smaller, it gets shifted up too much. Like that padding is a static value that doesn't get influenced by the scale of the like overlay or size box or whatever it exists in. At least that is how I assume it works, because that is the end result that I'm seeing. That said though, this also starting to be absolutely fucked, so I don't know like what the hell is going on with any of this shit at this point. Oh, it's because these, yeah, okay, that makes sense. It's because these, of course, still have their font size as well. Surely there's a way to scale that in a sensible way. How do I change the desired size on screen? Can I just set this to fill screen? And does that then fix my shit over here as well? Compile this real quick. Yeah, that still doesn't fix my shit. Why is its default size all kinds of fucked suddenly? What is doing that? Is it this? It's probably that. No, maybe not. I'm just gonna give up. Okay, different approach, use widget combine functionality. That one I would have to look into. But for some reason now this entire thing is fucking tiny suddenly, so I don't even know what's going on anymore. Surely it can't be because I changed this thing to is variable, right? That would be very dumb. Make separate widgets for each element and combine them in a different widget. Okay, but what do I gain by that? Because then we just get into the same exact issue that we have now, but the widgets will just have different names, right? Because we just like image also is a widget class. So if I make a widget that just has an image in it, and then I import that widget in here, it's effectively still just a image, right? Or is there like some other function that allows more anchoring with like child widgets? Because we do have a thing that allows you to put in like other child widgets, but like if I go again, I think it's card 1, right? If I go in where is it? User created. Like we have a bunch of stuff here. But if I put like a widget blueprint card in here, for instance, instead, this is going to be really confusing. This suddenly doesn't have like different options. It still has the same alignment and padding options. So I don't think that's going to... It makes widgets more modular. It can force you to preset. I don't think that it gives me anything. Like, not on this level. Like, I am making a card widget to put into an array of cards. Like, that is what I'm doing right now, but taking it one level deeper into making the image its own separate widget that doesn't actually do anything other than holding only that one image. I don't think that does anything. So... I have no... Did I fuck something up here? Hold on, let's just try to like cut everything here out and just add in a new canvas panel, because I feel like I just fucked something up with the canvas panel there. Screen size... It's desired on screen is just real weird. I just don't know why. All the like alignments here still work, right? Yeah, so let's also start with a clean slate here just to make sure. Canvas panel, adding in a card. I don't know why it adds it in this ratio. Aside from maybe this image being set to a certain size? No, that should... I don't know why. Oh, this offset top left, offset right. Yeah, why is my... Okay, I'm going to real quick try to Google this, because this is the issue that I'm running into now. I'm pretty set on the fact that at this point we have to use a canvas panel. I don't think there's any way for me not to use a canvas panel and get the results that I want. Unreal canvas panel desired size small. Too small. Like, what even is its desired size? Where can I set that? Yeah, this is all for editor utility widgets. How do I resize canvas panel to size of children? Select desired, and the canvas auto adjust itself to its children. So if I set this to desired, yeah, that still doesn't do shit. Is it maybe? No, nothing like any of this. If I make this bigger, yeah, none of that does anything. I'm really confused. I'm really legitimately quite confused as to what the cause of all this weirdness is. I guess we want to change the render transform of the widget as a whole, not just the canvas panel when we do that. But that's still not the cause of the weirdness here. Like it works. It works with scaling at least, and stretchiness when it's stretched to screen. Like custom on screen works, but this is not actually the size that it's going to be displaying as, which is the issue. Okay, let's actually, like, what size does it import it as? It imports it as 100 by 40. Where in the world is it getting the values 100 by 40? How does it think that is what is going on? Well, first and foremost, this image definitely needs to be a variable, and so do both of these texts. So let's set that. Yeah, I have no idea where it's getting the idea that it should be rendering this when it, like, when it spawns in an instance of it at 100 by 40. Like, what even? Why do you think that? To be fair, it might be an issue with... Hold on. It might just be an issue with this widget that I messed something up in. So let's remove this new user widget, because it is also scaling the other card a little weirdly. And still, if we can make that other card and we can just scale it down with its transform, I think that actually does end up being better, both for performance, but also because its text will properly scale down with it. I tried using overlay instead of canvas, had to manually position it, but so far it works. With 2 images and 2 texts. Right? Because I believe that, like, 1 image, 2 images, that works, but like the specific setup that I have here, because that is, like, the specific setup that I have here is the thing that is giving problems, I think. The fact that we have, like, that thing that is not entirely, like, exactly centered, so it needs to, like, scale and align to a little bit off center. That is the thing that's throwing me off. And then we, like, that text is a whole other thing in and of itself. Let's make a new user widget here. Canvas panel. 2 images so far with a not centered anchoring. Again, that is honestly the, yeah, so it sets both of them to one. It sets both of them to the same size. So it is definitely something weird going on with no anchor. That doesn't make sense. As in, oh, you mean no anchoring because you don't have a canvas panel. You have the, like, the default alignments still, though. I guess that does make sense, yeah. Yeah, I think the main issue that I'm having right now is the fact that it's setting these to a default size of 140 by 140, which makes no sense. Wild ID. If I, instead of doing that, I put this into an overlay and I try to put the cards into that, does that make any difference? Okay, so it does actually spawn them in properly when I do this, but not for this card. Okay, so if I put this just in an overlay and I go down into this value, okay, so we might have something workable here. I'll look into the text in a moment. But for this one, wait, which one is that? Again, what the fuck is even going on here? Like, why does this desired on screen, please? Why is it not scaling now? What the? I'm gonna be real with you. I think half the issues that I'm having here is just Unreal shitting itself. So what we're gonna do is we save everything. And we build and reopen. Because I do think that like a lot of stuff here just isn't fully making sense. Okay, we have this thing again. Okay, it's still fucked. We have WBP card and like okay, but what even is going on here now? Where is this image? Where does it exist? Why does it not exist? Oh, they're not visible. That's my bad. I'm just getting a little tilted. So if we set scale, set render scale, we simply plug a float. Don't call that float, call that scale, please. If we simply just plug a float into this, which will have a default value again of 1, it'll be exposed. If we go into here and we just say, hey, this scale it the fuck down. It doesn't update in real time. It also doesn't update its position. Okay, so that is an issue. Yeah, that is an issue because it's still acting like... Okay, hold on. There might be something that we can do in here instead. At this point, we're just experimenting. So instead of doing it through here, which makes a lot more sense, let's try to... I'm going to close this one for now, because we're going to go back to our other more performant in theory card. If we set the scale through here with the scale value, does that then for some reason change anything about how it's placed as well? No, it just stops rendering altogether. Oh, because that's... Yeah, okay, no, that's my bad. Okay, straight it just doesn't do anything. Which in and of itself is kind of weird. Okay, so all this aside, because this clearly is not the way that we want to be doing this. Yeah, again, if I just like make this smaller, it still is acting like it's being aligned from there. And if it's aligned in center, that actually maybe doesn't matter. Again, I don't know. Was it grid? I don't think it was a grid. Let's just make a box. Just a vertical box. Horizontal box. Maybe a wrap box is what we could have and should have used, but for now, just put box. Put this in the box. And put like 3 of them in the box. Why the fuck is this one differently sized? Yeah, so it still does treat them as if they are their original size, if I do it like this. So that doesn't actually let me scale them down. I suppose I can try to scale down the box as a whole. I guess that kind of works. And I can keep like adding more and more to them. In theory anyway. But then the alignment of this is still kind of fucked. Yeah, no, I don't think that works very well either. Okay, going back to a canvas panel. Just to check. It adds them in as... Now it adds this one in properly. Hold the fuck on, because I think... Okay, it still doesn't scale this one properly. Which is a little annoying. But not the end of the world, I suppose. If I just always render them at the same size on screen. I think that's just what we're going to go with. And if I want to render something bigger, it's just going to be pixelated as fuck. I don't care at this point. I added a scale box for each text and image. Yeah, okay, but like what... Like, what did you do to prevent this? Is what I'm asking. Because I don't quite like... Scaling it up and down and all that kind of stuff. Like, okay, I have this size box. I can get rid of the size box, to be fair. I don't think I need that. And then we run into the issue where, for some reason, everything is getting imported as 100 by 40 units, which I don't know why it's doing that. But like, let's replace this with child, because I don't think we need the size box here. I think that's only fucking me. I mean, that's kind of the only reason that... Okay, so now when that gets imported in, I think we don't have that size box in there anymore. That's good. But we still have this issue, and it doesn't scale up or down at all. And that is probably because this is not... Yeah, so this should be... No, not this one. My bad. This one should be fill horizontal and vertical fully. And that will allow this to scale. Yes. But obviously I can't do that with this. Right? Or can I? Like if I just scale it with this. Hold on. If I just set this to 75 and then this to like, what would that be? Like 190 or something? Or even more. 240? Even more. 260? 280? 280 is about good. Like if I do that, does that suddenly... Yeah, not even close. Like, I legitimately just... Like, even if it's about the same aspect ratio, it just legitimately does not want to scale down. So I'm guessing it's What do you have the second image set to? Because I can align them horizontally and then like add in a little bit of like bottom padding. And that works at this size. And only at that size. Because this just doesn't want to scale now. The only way to make it scale with the overlay panel is to make it fill horizontal. Maybe the overlay panel itself doesn't really have any options for scaling, does it? Not alone anchoring. Still, all that aside, the fact that this imports at this stupid aspect ratio, which, like, to be clear, this is the easiest way to make sure that everything like scales properly with it. But I don't like the fact that the text doesn't scale as well. So if we can get this to work, that would be great, because that would presumably also like scale the text like as pixels, right? So I would greatly prefer if the text wasn't a static size as well. Well, that is definitely an issue to worry about later. Someone managed to recreate your issue. Now I have no idea how to solve it. Welcome in my world. Like Unreal widgets scale in place. I don't fucking. How do I even Google this? Okay, you've added this button something to something panel. Clipping options. Let's look at that. Clipping, clip to bounce. Where that's in rendering. Let's take a look at what that does. No. I should compile it before testing it out, to be fair. Yeah, that's not it. Let's look in rendering again. So we have got clipping. Controls how the clipping behavior normally consent that overflows bounce, which is focus rendering. Enable clipping prevents overflow. Yeah, that's not the issue. Again, if we can just force this to be a certain size and then scale it down through this, like the transform scale, instead. Hold on, what the fuck? Okay, no, that doesn't still work. And just like force it to be a smaller size through its render transform scale. But still have it, and then also scale down the like the space it takes up in the widget, because that's the issue that we're gonna run into, right? Because if we have this like horizontal box again, the issue that I'm running into now is I kind of, the way I want to do this is like, what the fuck even is going on here? No, seriously, what the actual hell? That's because it doesn't have a size box anymore. So it needs that size box in order to force it into that fucking resolution. Okay, so size box. Yeah, size box makes the most sense to me as well. We need that size box, but so wrap with size box. Let's go back to that because that is going to fix all my issues in the fucking cursor. Stay in your place. I hate UI design with a burning passion. And we're just going to overwrite these values because that's the easiest way to get like literally anything done here. I don't remember what resolution it was. This was like 890, I believe, but this was 430. No, 640. 640 seems about right. So now we have that. For some reason, this is still fucked. Why? Sizebox border. Border might actually be a good one. That's not a bad idea. Instead of an overlay, right? So put these two. And then put an overlay in there. Let's just check this out. So border. Then we have the images in that overlay. And then we can get rid of that overlay on top. So replace with child. He doesn't use overlay. You literally say overlay background image. Interesting choice for a 2D game, mate. I'm kind of in the middle of something to respond to that at the moment. Like, that's the entire point of doing this project. Is because Unreal doesn't do 2D very well, so I want to do something 2D in it. So yeah, let's set the render here for the color to 0. What the fuck, dude? It's because... No, that's my bad. We need to set this brush color or tint to alpha 0 so that it doesn't show anything. Like, at this point, I just don't know what this border is doing, to be honest with you. So you say size box, border, overlay, background image, vertical box, size card, card text, size box, card image, size box, card description. Oh, overlay is not supposed to be at the top. Now, okay, I was getting to that. So from there, what does he do? He does an overlay, and then inside that overlay, he does the background image. So that would be this one, right? And then he also, inside the overlay, puts a vertical box. I think that this is highly stupid that you have to do it this way. But sure, let's give it a shot. I think this is the wrong image. Yeah. So we put that in a vertical box. And then in that vertical box we have a size box. And that holds the image then. Because the size box we can set to a certain size. So this is just to size the image, presumably. So if we set this to like 550 by 550. Something like that. And then we need to get rid of the padding for this image. Background image, parent of vertical box. I have bad news for you. Because that's not how that works. Images can't have children. So there must be something else in between. So they must both be in the overlay. Or whatever. Like this can't have a child. That said though, this vertical box probably should be aligned to the center, I'm guessing. Yeah, so I get that this is the order of things that he has them in, but I again will be running into the issue that this is probably all centered to the center. Like this all aligned to the center. I can try to add in some spaces. Like if I add this, like in this vertical box, I have this size box. Like and this spacer. Where does this spacer even exist? This needs to be center as well. As a child of the vertical box. Like I can try to like space this up a little bit and see if this. But this I don't feel good about this. Yeah, I don't even know what the hell is going on with any of this. Wait, when did this one start working again? Wait, what? Oh, no, it doesn't. Never mind. So if I... Yeah, so that still doesn't do what I wanted to do. Yeah, I'll just look up how other people do this between streams. See if I can find anything about this, because this is not working. Again, if this card frame was a little bit lower and this was in the center, I don't think that this would be an issue. But it's not. So here we are. Like, right? If I just like scale this, well, this still does some weird ass stuff. But I think that's to do with the vertical box. If I get rid of these two, and I just set this one to render under. Like at this point, I think, yeah, now it scales all. Well, this one to its max size because it doesn't properly fill, but even then, if I just set this to fill, and I give it some padding, presumably. Even like this, right? This scales properly. This is not a problem because it's aligned to the center. The moment it's not aligned to the center, this becomes an issue. Then again, maybe if I put in another over. Oh, hold on, I've got an idea. It's probably a bad idea, but I'm gonna try it anyway. If I take this image and I put it inside of its own overlay, right? And this overlay also is entirely filling, and I put in spaces and create space like this. Which need to be inside of this overlay. It's not inside of this overlay, is it? No, it is. With spaces, it needs to be in a... I think we had like a wrap box. That might... Yeah, no, okay, I'm going to try the vertical horizontal box again. Because that's what we need for the spaces to work. But that's what we had before, and this is going to be fucked. So we have the horizontal box. The horizontal box itself needs to be entirely filling. That might have been the issue that we had before, the fact that it wasn't filling. Size, make it fill. And then I'm going to be adding the spacers to it. So adding one spacer here. As this spacer increases in size, it should do fuck all because it's not in the horizontal box. Yeah, so this spacer, we copy that over to the other side as well. And that's the horizontal box. And if we then add in a vertical box as its parent, vertical box as well is going to be entirely filling. Filling. Right. We might be onto something. I still don't have high hopes, but we're gonna try. We have this spacer, so let's fucking space this to space. And we add in a spacer above it as well, which is going to be a lot smaller. Like now everything is spaced out in a way with only using like overlays and shit, right? So still fucked. Vertical box is a child of overlay, and size box is... Yeah, I don't think doing this through text is going to work. What if we size this as auto? I mean, it's not going to do much, is it? Yeah, no, that's just going to not make it. So... I think the issue might be that not everything here is set to fill. Hold on. This is not set to fill. Oh, yeah, okay. Okay, instead, hold on, I've got an idea. Instead of we just align this to there, right? And then we have this one should just be aligned to the bottom center instead. And then we have these two. These should just be aligned to like center left and center right. Instead of setting these to filling as well. Does that do... Yeah, no, it just makes that image be in a static place. I guess we can try to put the image itself inside of a size box, but I very much doubt that that's going to do like literally anything. But let's give it a shot. Maybe that'll allow it to scale a little bit more logically. I don't fucking know. Yeah, no. It's weird how it squishes but doesn't move. maybe these don't. Maybe we want those to not be fill either, which would kind of weird. Yeah, no. Okay, so what if we don't set these to fill? I'm just trying things at this point. Horizontal box will be auto, but fill. On these, right? So everything will be set to auto, but be outlined to, like, I don't even know if this size box is relevant. I don't think it is. Like, let's fucking give this a shot. And now the image just straight up doesn't move. What the hell? Just replace with child. I don't think the size box is doing me any favors there. Yeah, now the image just straight up does not move. Look, I'm not saying that this is a bigger problem than the fact that Godot wasn't able to export structs, because that definitely is a bigger issue, right? I don't know why this has padding. Let's get rid of the padding here as well, because I don't even know what's. Oh, it's probably because of the border. I'm also going to get rid of the border because I don't really see what its purpose is in this setup. At this point, anything that I don't understand can only be fucking me. Yeah, it literally doesn't do anything though. I request as much room as is needed based on the widget's desired size. Fill greedily attempts to... You would assume that this is what we want, actually. You would assume that that is what we want, after all. Hold on. If we set this all to fill, because they will take up as much room as they can. A little on the big side, but it just doesn't scale that down. Presumably because it was set to being filled like that, right? You know, it just straight up doesn't scale it down. Why not? I guess we fill... And then now it just gives them all thirds though. So that's literally not what I want. It doesn't even scale them. Well, actually it does scale properly in the X direction. So maybe the Y direction just needs these to hold on. Maybe this one. Yeah, so maybe this one just doesn't. Okay, hold on. If I can just set this to render like fatter, I think we might have. It still doesn't like very well align, but that might be good enough. And at this point, I'm willing to take good enough. Is there a parameter called aspect ratio? I don't think that's. I think there is somewhere. Also, I'm not entirely sure that that's really what we're looking for. But I can just like scale this up now, right? To what it needs to be instead of doing it through this size value. Because at this point, that's not doing anything anymore. And I think at that point, we're almost there. It's only the bottom spacer that is still doing weird stuff. Which is weird because the top spacer actually seems to work fairly well. For no apparent reason. So what happens if I just set this manually? It gets even more fucked. Okay, that's what happens. It should be a size box if I remember right. Yeah, that's probably the better way to do it, but that's not the cause of this issue. Like this has a minimum and a maximum aspect ratio. That has nothing to do with this issue though. The same, I probably should put in like a size box here as well. Instead of scaling it up. Matter of fact, let's just try to do that instead. Just because. Size box, right? Instead of scaling this up like this, because that's inevitably going to be an issue at some point, right? So if I just set this size box to well, that's actually not helping at all. Oh yeah, no, that ends up doing the exact same thing. Never mind. So that doesn't actually help me. So yeah, just having this image here, it's just this spacer that is being a bitch. What if I just what if I align it to the bottom after all? It's taking up too much space. Or maybe the issue is that the top spacer is not taking up enough space. Right? That could be a thing. Their settings are identical. Aside from the size, but the size doesn't do anything. Look, this is, whatever the case, this is a janky as solution. But if it is a janky ass solution that works, I will take it at this point. Click on the size box and search aspect. I found aspect ratio. That's not what this. That's not what is causing this issue. Like, there's only the minimum maximum aspect ratio, which is the same as here. But all that does is it just forces an override for those aspect ratios. But even as you can see here, when I change the minimum aspect ratio, like we have the same issue happening here when I squish it down. Which I suppose is a good way to test things. So there's that. I guess if we align this, hold on, if we align this to the bottom instead. or the top instead of the middle. That does seem to be improving things a little bit. Let's just having a little fun here. Yeah, I think I'm going to give up on this for now. I will check out what other people have come up with for solutions for this. And maybe there's something I'm entirely skipping out on that will allow me to do this in a somewhat decent way. Because we're not even, right? There is one thing. We are not even doing anything with the text yet. Like if I start adding in text here, that will, like with this spacing, like we have a vertical box here, like under the image presumably, or under the horizontal box. Rather, so we have the horizontal box, and with under that we will have ourselves like a vertical. Hold on, we'll get there. We'll have like a vertical box here under that, which will have like 2 texts in it. I don't know, maybe this will actually just straight up fix it. I doubt it, but who knows? We'll have to see. Both of which I guess will be outlined to the, like, maybe to the bottom. This vertical box itself. We'll need to have, like, then some padding to the left. Like, we can't keep stacking boxes inside of boxes inside of boxes. This can't be the way that you're supposed to do it. Like, that is, like, definitely not right. Like now the render order is also, because it's also inside of these boxes, it's also the order that these things get displayed in within this box. So that doesn't make sense. Well, actually, no, never mind. Hold on, we can. Yeah, so I can't have something inside of this same box that renders behind and something else that renders on top. So there's something about that as well. There's a lot of things that this needs to do that it certainly doesn't do right now, and that we're not going to get it to do right now. So we're going to call it here for today. It's been a fucking mess, specifically this UI thing. I didn't anticipate this being such a big issue. Never had this much trouble with UI. Again, I'm not necessarily like a great UI designer, but this is on a whole level of what the fuck is going on with all this. So, I'll try to look some stuff up, see if there's anything that I can learn that will improve this. And we'll give it another shot next week. I'm probably not going to be streaming over the weekend, because I certainly will have to keep up with actually like making some videos and editing some videos. Needs to be done at some point in this week. So I'll probably be back on Tuesday, and hopefully we'll have a solution to this. Because so far none of the solutions that I've seen are really like all that good. Because again, like this gets the closest, but it has the issue that the text is always going to be the same on screen, which also is not something that I want. I don't think. So like every solution that we have here is an issue, aside even from the fact that like importing this imported as like a squished fucking weird thing. I do wonder, I do wonder if I put this in a box here, right? If I put in like a card inside of this horizontal box, does it still? Yeah, it still does do that. Okay, never mind. So yeah, thanks everybody for checking out my misery. We at least did some like 2D stuff, right? We put in a chest and it has collision, so we have like a basic 2D actor. We put in some test carpets for tile layering, all that kind of stuff. So we did some stuff, kinda. But this whole like setting up a card widget has been a mess. So see you all later. Bye.